Hello, I am Josh. I am with the Cow's Den podcast. We talk comics, pop culture, stuff like that. If you haven't heard of us, definitely check out the podcast. If you are watching this video, you're likely on our YouTube channel. So all the episodes of the podcast are available on the YouTube channel. So feel free to give us a watch. Like really, we talk comics, pop culture, nerdy stuff. I think one of the episodes we're going to be doing, we talk Loki, Black Widow. I talk current comic books. My focus is comic books. So what I wanted to do was make a little tutorial kind of video for you, for those who are new to collecting comic books. Really what I'm doing is kind of hopefully turning this into like a series. But the main focus of this one is just to get some kind of glossary terms out there for you, for those who are new to collecting comic books. Start with the most basic of basic things. Number one would be issues. Issues. Issues is the most common thing. The most common definition, or the most common word I would say in comic books, are issues, because issues are literally just the individual comic books that you're buying. So, like this is an issue of the new Skybound X comic book, issue 1. That's really the basic way to describe it, is just that it's an issue. Okay. The next one I'm going to talk about is used. It's kind of weird because it's used in different ways, and I'll discuss that here in a second. But next word is trade, or TPB. TPB stands for trade paperback. So usually what that is about 6 issues, depending on the story. Sometimes they do 5 issues. Sometimes they do up to, I believe they can go up to 12 issues in the trades. But that's just exactly like that. That's what it sounds. So, give you an example. This is Undiscovered Country. This is a comic book from Scott Snyder, Charles Soule. A lot of people are in this comic book. So, but this is a trade of the first 6 issues. So this collects the first 6 issues of the comic into one book. So it's a little bit cheaper than buying it. Like, that was only $10, but 6 issues of the actual book would have cost you $18. If they were $3 a piece, if they were $4 a piece, would have cost you $24. So it's a little bit cheaper way to get you to be able to buy the comic, but not have to buy the individual issues. To be a little bit cheaper than buying the individual issues. More collection words I'm going to show you here are Omnibus and Compendium. Omnibus, I don't know how exactly, if there's a different way of saying that, then I'm sorry. The Omnibus usually has, here, I'll show you. Alright, the Omnibus. Okay. Omnibus usually has 24 issues. It's a nice thick book. The compendiums usually have 48 issues. I don't know that I have an omnibus with me, but I will say that these right here, these are the Walking Dead compendiums. These have 48 issues each, I believe. There are times where comics will go a little outside of that. So I don't know if you can see it over here. This is the comic Saga. Saga has 54 issues in its first half. So what they did is, instead of making 48 and then a whole separate book for the other 6, they just shoved all 54 into one compendium. So compendium is usually like the biggest way you can read one specific story. It's also the cheapest way to get a hold of one specific story, because, I mean, compendiums can cost $40-$50, but you're getting 50 issues, so you're spending $1 an issue as opposed to however much you would spend normally. So the next thing I want to talk about is variant covers, different covers. So variant I'm not going to hold up the sign for variant, but variant covers is just a different cover. It's a variant. So like with a variant can mean a lot of things, but like with this one right here, there is a variant cover, or even here, this one right here. This is a Wonder Woman black and gold, but it's not the normal cover. It's a variant cover. It's a different cover. I feel like variant is kind of self-explanatory in a way, especially if you've been watching Loki. You should know what a variant is. If not, that's fine. But I'll show you a couple different ideas of what a variant is. So this is where the word trade comes back in. Hang on. Ugh. So the word trade, it means for trade paperback. Is the 6 to 8 issue collection, sometimes 12. I usually 6 to 8. But I don't know that I have different examples of this, but so there's trade dress and minimal trade. Trade dress just means that it's the typical cover. It's going to show the entire logo, the entire like if it's, let's just say Batman, it's going to say big bold across Batman issue 150, and then in the corner it'll say DC. It'll have the barcode, it'll have the issue number, it'll have all the information on it. It'll just be your standard type of cover. This one, again, I'm going to use as an example. This is what's called a minimal trade dress. It still shows the information, but it shows it a lot smaller. It shows that it's Wonder Woman black and gold #1, but it's also very small on the corner here. The DC's up in the corner. There's no barcode on the front. It really gives you the idea of just flat seeing the artwork. So it gives more to the artwork. The next one, so trade dress is going to be just your basic cover. Minimal trade will be that same cover, but with a lot less other stuff, so you can really get a good grasp of the artwork. The last one for that, for covers, I would say, is Virgin. So Virgin would be, let's just say, this exact same Wonder Woman one, but there's no letters, no wording up here at all, no DC, no nothing. There's nothing on it but the actual artwork itself. That's called a Virgin cover. Virgin just means that it's the artwork only and nothing else. Okay. So now, let's see here. One of the other things here, I'll say, a common word is key. Key, key, like a key issue. A key issue stands for if something important is going to happen in the issue. Whether it means somebody's going to die in the issue, there's a new character in the issue, there's a whole new slew of characters in the issue, something important is going to happen. Something important, one way or another, is going to happen. And therefore, the issue might be valuable down the line because it's a key issue. Okay, so we'll move from the covers. Let's see, I got variant incentive. Oh no, we didn't talk incentives. So, in trouble with my spelling here. So incentive covers. I'm gonna put a couple things on here. Incentive. So. Okay, so incentive covers. Incentive covers are covers that are used. So here, incentive. Okay, covers that are used as an incentive for shops to buy more copies of the comic. So what they'll do is, let's say you have a 1 in 5 incentive. Okay, that means that your comic shop had to buy 5 copies of the regular cover to get this incentive cover. So it's going to be a different cover, but it's always going to be at least a little more valuable just because they're not your typical cover. So 1 in 5 would mean they had to buy 5 copies. 1 in 10 would mean they had to buy 10 copies just to get the one cover. 1 in 25 would mean they had to buy 25 copies just to get that one cover. So typically, if you find a 1 in 100 or 1 in 200, that means that your store had to buy 100 or 200 copies just to get that one. There's a comic out called Berserker from Keanu Reeves, Keanu Reeves. It had a 1 in 1,000 incentive cover, which means that a store had to order 1,000 copies of Berserker just to get that one cover. But what they did was that one cover, they got it signed by Keanu. So it's every store that got it is selling it for $2,000-$3,000. So it makes sense. And I'm talking minimal $2,000-$3,000. It makes sense because the store had to buy 1,000 copies just to get it. So they spent, let's say, $3,000-$4,000 just to get that one cover. They're going to make their money back, but because they have so many covers, so many copies of the other cover, they had to sell this one for crazy money. But the idea is that if you find an incentive cover, it's almost always going to be more valuable than the regular cover. There are very few times that the incentive covers aren't worth anything more than the regular covers. Very rarely. And I'm only going to cover a little bit more here. That I don't have all the words that this is what I could think of right now. But the next thing I'm going to cover is about grading. So I'll start with that. Grading is when you get something encapsulated and put a grade. Again, with the having some trouble with my my spelling here. Grading. Grading is when you get something encapsulated. So this Department of Truth right here is graded. Okay, it's also signed and graded. I'll get into that, but grading is where you get your comic encapsulated in this nice big hard plastic encapsulation case, so that it's well protected and it's well kept at whatever grade that it's gotten. What you do is you'll send your comic to a grading company. There's 2 big grading companies. I believe there's more than 2, but there's 2 big ones. The 2 biggest, most talked about ones are CGC and CBCS. I can tell you that CGC stands for Certified Guarantee Company, I believe. And I don't know for sure what CBCS stands for, but those are the 2 major companies. So what you'll do is you'll send your comic to this company. The company will then have professionals who look it over, who examine it very thoroughly and determine how much or how good your comic is quality-wise on a 10-point scale. So the highest grade you could possibly get is a 10. 10s are very rare to get. There are, like, a 10 would have to come straight off the press and go straight to the grading company. Nobody actually touched it at all. Typically the highest grade that most comics will get are a 9.8. That just means that you went to the store, you picked it up, you kept it in excellent condition, sent it off, no problems with it. It's sitting at a 9.8. If you get a 9.9, that means it's phenomenally, just almost perfect. But 9.9s and 10s always go for an insane amount of money. What CGC, the biggest difference between the 2 companies, CGC and CBCS, is that CBCS will verify a signature. I'm sorry, I'm sweating over here. CBCS will verify a signature on a comic that's already been signed. They will look it over, they will cross-examine it with other signatures and verify whether or not it's real. CGC will not do that. The only way that you can have CGC verify your signature is by them witnessing it happen. They will not accept already signed comics at all. And they will take it, but you'll get, instead of getting this lovely blue label that says, yes, this was signed by this person, you'll get a green label that just says, oh, somebody wrote on the cover. So you have to have them witness it. That in itself gives CGC a bit of an advantage, just because that proves they have a bit more, I guess, integrity. Not saying that CBCS doesn't have integrity, but I just mean that tends to be a bit more of a selling point for most people, is that CGC will only do it if they have a witness to verify it. Um, Now, if you've already got stuff that you got signed at cons, you met people, you got it signed, send it off to CBCS. People tend to talk down about CBCS sometimes just because it's kind of the number two instead of being the number one. But I will use CBCS all the time for stuff that I've already gotten signed, and didn't have a witness. So I use that all the time. Um, Speaking of grading, though, another one, let's see here. Is another term is gem mint. Gem mint usually means a 10.0 grade. It means that it's perfectly graded. It's fantastic. It looks incredible. Nobody's messed with it at all. Um, Now, gem, and a gem can also be like you found a hidden gem. Like some people refer to gems as, like, if you go to a oh, I can't remember what they're called. If you go to a flea market, like, let's say you go to a flea market, you spend $10 on a comic, and then you find out that that comic's worth $500. That's a gem because you found a hidden gem. That's how some people use it, but typically gem, especially in terms of gem mint, typically means that it's a 10.0 grade, or it's 9.9, like it's right there. But technically, gem mint is 10.0. I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, I know there's more terms. I can't really think of any right now. If I think of more, I'll try to get them out there. I know I'm a little uncomfortable with this one right now because I'm just me. I'm not used to doing videos with just myself. So I would love to do more of these. I would love to do more of just explaining certain things about comic collecting, as well as talking maybe some hot comics for the week of what you maybe should grab that might be worth something. What it boils down to, though, is you. If you are going to collect comics for your personal use, comics that you want to read, comics that you want to keep, that you don't really care about the grading, and you don't really care about the value, how much it's worth, it's just something fun for you, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about what you're grabbing. Don't worry about who says what about what, whether one's rated good or one's rated bad. It's all about you. It's all about you. As long as you have fun reading, as long as you have fun buying, then keep doing it. But if you're interested in collecting for the purpose of potentially down the line maybe selling your collection or passing down your collection to a family member, in hopes that it would be worth something, then by all means, hopefully some of these terms will help you out. If you'd like, I can even go through and explain the process of sending off a comic to get graded. But that'd be a whole different video, and I don't know if I could do that without CGC's approval. I honestly have no idea in terms of that stuff, in terms of what it's, what I have to do. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was at least slightly informative. And if you enjoy it, like it, comment, subscribe, whatever. Obviously, the more subs we get, the better chance we have of doing more stuff. And, if this isn't received well, then I won't make another one. But if people end up liking it, then I'll be happy to do more stuff about comic collecting, because that's kind of all I do now. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. See ya.